Welcome to 5 after midnight. The truth is out there. One.
When I was about 12 or 13 years old, I had just gotten home from living with my father for 1 year, and I had a lot of liberties there compared to what I had at my mother's. So being the rebel that I was, I always liked to spend late nights out, but not really that late. The max was around 11 or 12 at night. I had a Latin mother, and there is just so much you can push them before they reach their limit. And trust me, you don't want them to reach their limit. So while walking home down my street in the middle of the night, I hear a faint sound. I look up, and to my surprise, I see the most typical cliché-looking UFO. A round, smooth, metal-looking circle with red lights underneath it, while the outer edge of the circle is spinning while the middle is still. And it's also really close to me, just 12 or 15 meters above ground at the building's height, but it was above me in the middle of the street. I stare in disbelief for about 10 seconds, and I watch it hover over past me, turn around, and I see it float away in the distance. I never knew what to say to that. I told my mother, and she took away my TV and computer for about 2 weeks. I was pretty freaked out when I told her. I told my father, and he took away my allowance. I don't like to think about what it could have been.
Two.
When I was a kid, I had a dream that I got abducted by aliens. Now, I do think there must be logically some type of life on other planets, but not like aliens that we see in movies or anything. Anyways, this was a really realistic dream I had. I got sucked up into a tractor beam through the roof of my house, as if the roof was just a cloud. There was blackness for a bit, as if I was unconscious. Then I was laying on my back, and there were these aliens standing around me. I wasn't able to move anything, but my eyes and my head were able to move just a little. I saw that they were operating on my thumb. There was like 10 to 15 3-inch really skinny needles that were moving in around my thumb without any of them touching the needles. They were just kind of doing their thing, wiggling around in my thumb while the aliens watched. I swear I could feel the movement in my thumb, but no pain. I blacked out for a bit longer, and then they put me back in my house, but instead of my room, they put me in the hallway. Then, when I woke up in my hallway, I had a small scar on my thumb.
Three.
Living in Florida with 4 air bases in the area, seeing aircraft is quite common. I'm driving home late one night, around 2 or 3 a.m. It was overcast skies with low-hanging clouds, but the moon was bright. I lived in a house at the bottom of a hill. For fun, I would floor the gas pedal, get a certain speed at a certain spot, and cut my truck off and coast to my driveway. This night I left my lights off. It was bright enough I could see the road for miles. At the top of this hill is a radio tower, about 150 feet tall. I immediately notice that the flashy light at the top of the tower to warn off aircraft is not working. Then I notice the mothership sitting just above the radio tower. Below the clouds, silhouetted against them, was a large floating craft. It had no lights, no wings, no engines, no windows, nothing but a general oval shape. I didn't think much of it at first, just some new home rattler to wake up the Tri-County area on Sunday mornings. I rolled down my window to catch an earful of its mechanical drone, but there was nothing. Ever curious and suspicious, I stopped my truck so that the wind wouldn't be a factor, and I stick my head out of the window, but there's still nothing. I stared at it for a moment, mentally trying to make sense of the vessel, when it started moving up and away. Still utterly silent, disappearing into the clouds above. As soon as it was gone, the radio tower lights started blinking again. This didn't happen to me, but it happened to my mom. She had been diagnosed with a tumor about 8 years ago. She was told that she would need an operation to remove the tumor. After some screenings before the operation, the doctors asked her where she had been operated on already. She told them that she had never had surgery in her entire life. The doctor told her that she must be mistaken because the tumor was no longer there. The doctor said that it must have been surgically removed because there were incision marks where the tumor was located. She also told us about a dream that she had the night before she went to see the doctor. She was in her bed and she sees a light shining beneath the door. She then sees these 2 tall, skinny, gray aliens with big black eyes and long, slender fingers. They led her out of her room and into a vessel where she is undressed and told to lay on a cold metallic table. She then remembers those big black eyes looking down at her and feeling the coldness of the table pass through her entire body. My mom didn't tell anybody about this until 2 years afterwards. I guess she didn't want anybody to think she was crazy. All I know is that at one point my mom had this tumor in her body, and after a dream of hers, she no longer needed the surgery. I guess the truth really is out there.
Five.
A few years ago, I was visiting West Texas with my mom's side of the family, and we started in the Big Bend State National Park area and eventually made our way north to a little city named Marfa, Texas. It would greatly surprise me if no one here had heard of the city or the famed Marfa lights that they are known for. Although admittedly, my family and I had not heard of this phenomenon before the introductory video at a local gift shop. Anyway, during the 90s, Japanese scientists came and conducted research in an attempt to discover the source of these lights, with no explanation found at that time. To my knowledge, there are still not any solid theories to explain these lights, with the most prevalent attempts consisting of lights reflected from some highway. This is the most scientific explanation. Having witnessed the lights myself, I am pretty skeptical of this explanation. Native American spirits or ghosts, aliens maybe doing a UFO dance routine, and so on. Obviously, it took me all of no time whatsoever to decide that I must witness this for myself, and then convince some of my relatives to go with me. The first night, quite a few members of my family drove out to the designated observation spot located off the U.S. Route 67 to wait and shiver in our cars. Several hours went by and we saw nothing, so we decided to leave and try again the next night, which, after another several hours of waiting, was also a dud. By this time, most of the skeptics, or quitters, in my family had decided that the lights weren't worth wasting our third and final night in Marfa. Because of this, only my mom and one of my younger cousins and I drove out to the observation site again. A couple of hours passed by, and eventually I grudgingly admitted that we would need to leave soon because we decided to stay just a little bit longer. And then finally, it happened. Out above the shrub-covered plain in front of us, a large blood-red orb of light formed in the sky some distance above the ground. The ball of light then started slowly to move to the right and curve down, leaving behind a tracer in the shape of a floating sideways U. With the initial red orb separately distinguishable from the rest of the tracer, but yet still a part of the U. Think of Photoshop hard-tipped paintbrush. Then, the fully formed sideways U hung in the sky for a split second, and suddenly, as one, it all just disappeared. Immediately following the orb's distance came what I can best describe as a golden shower. But in all seriousness, all of the black night sky that I could see in my direct line of sight and my peripheral was covered with this golden light lines cascading down about a 45-degree angle and disappearing before it reached the ground. By this point in time, my mom, my cousin, and I were yelling in excitement, and I was trying very, very, very hard to refrain from yelling, "What the fucking fuck?" around my young cousin and mother. The whole experience lasted maybe 15 to 20 seconds, and then suddenly everything stopped and disappeared as if nothing had ever occurred. I have goosebumps just writing about this, because I could in no way, shape, or form wrap my head around what I had just saw, and I still can't. I suggest if anyone is ever in the Marfa area to at least attempt to go and see these lights. And if that's not possible and curiosity has you, go check out YouTube. I must comment though that my experience seems to be different than most of the videos I've seen. Maybe the aliens just really wanted to put on an extra special performance for us.